Well, it's time to start our meeting. First item on the agenda, confirmation of minutes. The minutes have been sent to members, and no proposed amendment has been received by the Secretariat. Can we confirm the minutes? Okay. Then we proceed to item number 2, information papers issued since the last meeting. The Secretariat issued 5 papers to members. There's one concerning Tin Sau Bazaar in Tin Shui Wai, administration's response to Dr. Kenneth CHAN's letter. And there's another one, a referral memorandum from the clerk to the EA panel, enclosing a joint letter from Mr. Wai-keung and Mr. Ka-piu concerning the government's policy on strict performance. And the third one is a letter from Dr. Kenneth CHAN and Dr. Helena Wong related to Hong Kong Ballet. And then we have an administration's response to the joint letter from Dr. Kenneth CHAN and Mr. Dennis KWOK concerning the flag-raising ceremony on the 1st of October 2013. All right, if there's no further comment, we'll proceed to item number 3. Deputy Chairman, you proposed a discussion about Hong Kong Ballet. What's the purpose of that? Do you want to invite the persons in charge of the Hong Kong Ballet to give an account or what? This is an issue because all along we have asked artists to enjoy freedom of artistic expression. And now because of some deletion in the program, you are asking for an explanation. It's a major issue because the panel would be trying to intervene with the performance of artists, and that would be a political issue. There's no need to have a discussion here. So I'll ask the Deputy Chairman to respond briefly. Well, I don't think I can respond briefly. We're concerned about this. And Chairman, you will represent that particular sector. Actually, there is news which is not favorable to the ballet, Hong Kong Ballet. It has to do with possible political intervention. We have a different version of what happened. We have been given a very short response from the administration. And you can see that it's very controversial in the cultural sector. I'm not trying to stir up trouble without good reason. This afternoon, I'm going to attend a seminar in this Chinese University on the same subject. Mr. Wang Xinpeng is the person in charge of the Dermont company. We have to admit that this incident has brought about undesirable consequences. I know what you are trying to ask, Mr. Yip, and that is we may be accused of intervention. Well, if I do this without good cause, that would be the case. But Mr. Wang and other artistic organizations have commented on the incident. I believe we can use this platform in LegCo to investigate. I'm not happy with the administration's response. The government doesn't even state the basic position of no political intervention or political censorship. I think we have to tell people our attitudes concerning the core values, and that is we don't accept such alleged acts of political censorship or political intervention. Well, we're not going to embark on a full discussion. There are 2 letters, and we have got a government's response. Do we need to do any follow-up, members? Mr. Wu Chi Wai. I think this is an important matter. and then taken together with the Hong Kong TV incident last year, TV incident lately. I think the question is about freedom of expression, and there is an impact to freedom of expression or freedom of artistic expression. It's not about whether the freedom of the performing company is infringed. We are also talking about self-censorship, because some people think that this would be in line with the wishes of powerful people. We should ask the performing company to tell us why they came to that decision to delete certain parts of the performance. Is that a suggestion? That's a suggestion. Ms. Ann Chan, please be succinct and precise and to the point. Well, I've also paid attention to the incident. Maybe we should have a meeting. Before we have a meeting, inviting the relevant parties to come, maybe we should ask the board of the performing company concerned to give us a paper first, because they need to give an account to the board. So let's find out what happened before we decide whether to convene a special meeting. Well, the normal approach is for us to deal with policy issues. And if we want a discussion, we ask the government to come to explain the relevant policies. It's not that we have received a complaint. No one has approached us to lodge a complaint. And now we are saying that we should intervene of our own accord. Is that appropriate? So there's a concrete proposal to convene a special meeting. So let's speak on this. Please let us have your comments. Mr. Yip Kok Kim, I think we should establish the basic facts. We should not rely on speculation and say there's a case to deal with, and in particular ask for a special meeting to be convened. It's said that an official of the liaison office attended the performance, and then there was some alteration to the program. This is a serious allegation, and based on this, we are not asking for those running the performing company to come to our meeting. I think we should respect the relevant performing companies' rights. I'm worried that we will be invoking our powers likely to intervene. So I'm not in favor of dealing this as a case, but we can ask the government about the policies in this regard. So I'm not agreeable in relation to the proposal to convene a special meeting. So, Deputy Chairman, please don't jump to the conclusion that we are trying to intervene or LegCo is trying to intervene. If we, out of nothing, we want to discuss Hong Kong Ballet, then you may have a valid question as to why we want to know what they are doing. But now we have an incident, there are different interpretations, different versions. There has been some heated discussion in the cultural sector. We're not trying to target any particular artistic organization, but we are concerned about a social issue. So yes, we need to talk to the government. We need to ask the government where it stands, what its attitude is. Well, the letter we received from the government has little more than 200 words. We're concerned about the freedom of creativity, freedom of artistic expression of our artistic company. Well, as for the liaison office, it's unfortunate that the liaison office is mentioned in the accusation. I would not like to see any intervention, but Mr. Wang Xinpeng said something very different from what the Hong Kong Ballet told us. So either version must be inaccurate. So we have to find out the truth, and we don't want to see a repeat of this incident. I think we are now discussing on how to deal with this issue, this matter. Mr. Yu Si-wing. Mr. Peter Cheung, I just want to follow up on the point made by Mr. Wu Chi-wai. If we make a jump to list it as an item on the agenda of the panel in a special meeting, maybe it would be too drastic, but maybe we should invite the relevant parties to attend with the administration. Well, if we can finish the discussion in one meeting, that would be it. Otherwise, we have a special meeting. I think there are rumors circulating. There's no need to have a special meeting. Mr. Yik Chi-ming. Concerning scripts, a script to be used by performing company in a performance, the artistic director has the final say. Should LegCo be involved in these matters? I do have reservations. Time is limited. Well, we have Ms. Sid Ho, who is the last speaker on Mr. Chan Chi-chan on this proposal. This is a cultural exchange event involving a subsidized performing company in Hong Kong and an overseas artistic organization. Now this happens, it may just hinder further collaboration with overseas groups. So the guest is of the view that the collaboration this time was not smooth. So we need to have a discussion. If we don't have a special meeting, at least we should put the matter on the agenda for the next meeting. Mr. Chan Chi-chan, please be focused. Yeah, you said you don't want to have a discussion of the subject matter. But since some members want to have a discussion, you must put it on the agenda of a future meeting as to how or the level of discussion. But that's a separate matter. We may have a discussion and we'll draw no conclusion, or we may want to do something else. All right, so there are two suggestions. Put it on the agenda as an item, or convene a special meeting. Do we have anyone who said that we should not deal with it? If not, we would go for either proposal. Put it on our agenda as an item, or convene a special meeting. Your comments? Yes? I won't be agreeable that we should have a special meeting. And if we are concerned, we should ask the administration to give us an account. We should not try to involve the performing company. It's said that it has to do with political intervention or self-censorship. Let's not have a discussion on that. We have two proposals. Please give us your views.
Those in favor of putting this on the agenda for a future meeting, please put up your hands. Those who are in favor of putting this onto our agenda, Mr. Wu Chi-wai, Chairman. I think if we have to wait for our next regular meeting, it will be next month. But I think these matters will need to be dealt with as soon as possible. To delay this for another month, of course I won't object to put this onto our regular agenda. But I think this is an urgent issue involving our cultural exchange with external parties, and it involves our policies and procedures. So we need to deal with it as soon as possible, rather than letting the cultural sector to continue to speculate on this. I think your suggestion is very clear. So we have two different options here. So, Chairman, I'm not saying whether we should deal with this or not. I see that the deputy. I see that. Please, the deputy chairman said that the incident might involve, this and that, and I've also read some press reports. What I'm saying is whether or not the parties concerned could give us more information, so that after we go through the full information, then we can next decide to convene a meeting. So this is a third proposal. First of all, we should ask for information from the parties concerned first. Yes. So there are three proposals. Mr. Yu, are you suggesting a fourth option? Mr. Yip got him talk about the format of the meeting and whether we should put it on our regular agenda. And Ms. Helena Wong suggested we should invite the officials to come and answer our questions. If that's the proposal, I'm agreeable to that. If we were to invite the full members of the Hong Kong Ballet to come, I wouldn't agree. So the way I see it, we now have four options. Number one, convene a special meeting. Number two, add this onto the agenda for a future meeting. Or we can, create a separate item and invite the officials to come and explain. And finally, we ask for papers first before we decide how to proceed further. Have I interpreted members' proposals correctly? Given the different views, are you suggesting a fifth option, Chairman? If we have an item on the agenda, we're just inviting members of the performing body to come and talk to us. We are not interfering with the operations. They can choose to come or not. So I don't think we need to rule out that option. Let me deal with the easier options first. One proposal is that we should ask for papers before we proceed further. So let's vote on this first. Chairman, procedurally, if a member suggests that a certain item should be put on the agenda, that is the prerogative of the member concerned, and we can't object to that. But members have proposed various ways to deal with the issue. Convening a special meeting is a separate option. To convene a special meeting, I have stated my position that I'm against that. Now that an agenda item is proposed, I'm not objecting to that. That is up to members to decide, or for the chairman to decide how to deal with it. That is, how can we work effectively? I'm saying that the panel should focus on policies, unless there is a particular case before us. Otherwise, I don't think we should summon the Hong Kong Ballet to come. Would not be appropriate. I think all members already expressed their views. Let's first of all decide whether we should convene a special meeting. I think you should consult with the deputy chairman. This is not really an urgent issue. Why don't you talk to the vice chairman and then, so at least, like Mr. Yip suggested, we could perhaps put this on to the agenda for a future meeting. That should be okay. As to whether we should hold a special meeting or public hearing, I think we can leave it to the two of you to decide. Are members agreeable to this? If that's the case, then I can certainly talk to the Deputy Chairman as to how we should proceed. Are we agreeable, Mr. Wu? Otherwise, we would need to spend a lot of time this morning to deal with this. So if there are no further views, the members would, have agreed that you leave this to myself and the Vice Chairman. Next, we move on to the next item, date of the next meeting, and also the items for discussion. On the 21st of October, I had an informal meeting with the Secretary, and there is a paper for circulated members, and this has been agreed by the government that it should be put onto the list of outstanding items. That is CB Bracket 2203 13-1401, and a list of outstanding items. And that is CB 2203 13-1402. If on the list of items there are a few outstanding items, there's a few new items, including 3, 4, 6, 10, 13, 15, and 18. All these are newly added items. So much for the list of outstanding items. Next, we have to decide on the date of our next meeting and the items for that meeting. At that informal meeting, it was decided that there should be two items. First of all, regulating the property management profession, and also the redevelopment of the Yau Ma Tei theatre, phase 2 development, and also the reprovisioning of the Shanghai Street Refuse Collection Point. And the date of the next meeting will be the 13th of December at 8:30. If there are no contributes, we shall so decide, and those two items will be on the agenda. And now, without further ado, we'll move on to the fourth item on the agenda, review of allowance and expense reimbursement arrangements for district councillors. And for this item, all members have been invited to attend. However, I'd like to remind members that according to our rules of procedure, section 83 bracket A, in respect of declaration of interest, that is, at the panel meeting, members cannot move any amendments in respect of matters for which they have a direct and indirect interest unless they declare such interest, such monetary interest. So if members have an indirect or indirect interest, then they should declare their interest before they speak. We also have a paper prepared by our Secretariat, CB 2203 1314 bracket 04. Let me first invite Mr. Zhang Tak-sing to walk us through the paper. Good morning, members, and thank you, Chairman. The need to enhance the allowance and expense reimbursement arrangements for district councillors. The purpose of such allowances is to give them sufficient financial resources to discharge duties effectively. If we give them proper support, we can attract people from all walks of life to serve the public. Especially given that office rentals and salaries have gone up in recent years, district councillors, in coping with the rental expenses and the need to recruit quality assistants, have encountered difficulties. In 2011 and 2012, more than 100 district councillors have already applied for the full amount of their remuneration and still have to, incur extra expenses out of their own pockets. And because of that, we've conducted a review and listened to the views as to how we can further enhance the remuneration package for district councillors. In the paper, we are making 3 proposals effective from January 1st, 2014, that is within the current DC term, in order to enhance their remuneration package, including A, to increase the rate of accountable operating expense reimbursement by 34% from to $304,000, and also allow the surplus of the old year entitlement in one calendar year to roll over to the following year. And thirdly, to increase the entitlement of accountable setting up expenses reimbursement for district council member who has claimed SER in the previous term but has changed the location of his ward office in the current term from 50% to 100%. In July, we consulted the district councillor, the independent committee on remuneration for district councillors, and after we've heard the views of this panel, we intend to apply to the FC for funding in December, so that starting from January next year, the enhancement measures could be implemented. Regarding the remuneration for district councillors and the other arrangements, we will follow the usual procedure. That is, there will be a review next year, namely 2014, or we will announce the necessary proposals at the end of 2015, so that at the more than a year before the 2015 district council election, those interested in contesting election will be informed of the remuneration arrangements for the district councillors for that forthcoming term. Thank you. May I ask how many members would like to speak so that we can allot the time appropriately? Mr. Yip Kok Him, Mr. Yu Si Wing, Mr. Ma Fong Kwok, Mr. Kenneth Chan, Mr. Wu Chi Wai, Ms. Ann Jiang, Ms. Sit Ho, and Mr. Chung Shi Kan. So if there are no other members, other than that, then may I propose that each member have 4 minutes. And please also allow some time for the officials to respond. Mr. Yip Kok Him. Chairman, I'd like to declare, first of all, that I'm a district councillor from the Central Western District, and I'm also a member from the DC 1 FC member. The government has taken note of the difficulties encountered by district councillors in the course of performing the duties. The Secretary also pointed out that many of the district councillors simply cannot retain their staff because the operating expenses are only $20,000, and given that office rentals and they can't actually cope with the office rentals and the cost of hiring quality assistants. The government has taken note of the fact that district councillors don't have sufficient support to discharge their duties, so I therefore welcome the present proposal, and I'd like to thank the administration for being so considerate of the needs of the district councillors. However, I think the proposed arrangements are still not adequate in 3 respects. First of all, even though you are now proposing a rather significant increase in their accountable operating expenses by 34%, but amongst members, I think there are differences. Those who have ward offices within public housing estates, whereas there are others who, quite a number of them have ward offices within public housing estates. In the Central and Western District, only myself and another one has a ward office in the public housing estates, whereas if they lease premises outside, the rents are very expensive, costing more than $10,000. I therefore hope the government will consider whether you should designate a special item of expenditure for members who don't operate offices within public housing estates. So the rentals are already $5,000 to $6,000. Could you provide them for at least a partial subsidy? Of course, you can't pay them $20,000 for rent, but at least there should be a subsidy. Secondly, for members who are actually being re-elected after one term, after they've served for one term, the offices and the fixtures will already need to be replaced. If they do not relocate, then they're only entitled to 50% of the SER. But why won't you consider giving them the full amount? The total is only $100,000. Giving them $50,000 is not appropriate. Thirdly, regarding the duty visits by district councillors, why haven't you considered that district councillors will also need to go on such visits. Thank you, Chairman. I'm grateful to Mr. Yip for his suggestions.
喺 members and district council members have repeatedly made their views known to the HAB, and they have said that in discharging the duties of district council members, they are facing financial difficulties. This time we are proposing a big increase based on the opinion expressed by members and district council members. The member has also proposed other things. For example, the updating of equipment. I'll ask Mrs. Pamela Tan to supplement. The other suggestion is about providing a specific allowance for rental. At present, it's an accountable allowance. We believe by increasing the rates by 34%, we will be able to cover 98% of the rental payments. That is to say, those who are renting Grade B office premises. But of course, if a member opts for higher grade premises, we cannot really guarantee that it will be sufficient. Well, the members have raised many questions. Therefore, I have given the secretary for more time for a response. I cannot give all members the same treatment. Mr. Yu Si Wing. Well, in my company, I have some colleague who is a district council members. Well, because of the higher demand on the duties, sometimes the colleague has to work at night. You're talking about a cap for the operating expenses reimbursement annually. Well, you know that in the first year, you tend to spend more. If you have an annual cap, and it's the same for all the 4 years, you may not be able to cope in the first year. Can you allow some flexibility in that you impose a cap for the 4-year period? As long as the cap for the 4 years concerned is not exceeded, it should be allowed. As for those who are re-elected, and you are only giving the re-elected members $50,000 for equipment. Well, this is insufficient because apart from furniture, equipment means electrical appliances. And after 5 years, many appliances are no longer usable. So perhaps you should give a re-elected member 70 or 80% of the full allowance, 70 or 70,000, that is. And sometimes members have to pay expenses out of their own pockets. For example, the ward office rental. Has the administration conducted any survey? And that is data on how much is paid out of district council members' pockets. Because they have no choice but to pay for the expenses themselves in order to cope. Mrs. Or director of HA? Apart from the OEA, we have a setting up expenses reimbursement. So in relation to the first year, it's an additional allowance. Therefore, a new member will not find it difficult to cope in the first year because there's a setting up allowance. And it would be difficult to work out something different for district council members in providing a special allowance for rental, because it's done for all different tiers of boards and committees. If we are to do that, we need to conduct a special survey. I'm not optimistic about achieving that. And over the years, we haven't heard from members that it's really insufficient. And Mr. Yip's question is, how come we cannot give them a higher OER amount, even though there's no removal? We believe that if there's no removal, and your expenditure is going to be lower, you don't need to buy something new. So there's an allowance of 50% of the original amount. And if you move to a new office, you get 100% of that allowance. I was saying that in the first year, the expenses might be higher. So I was suggesting that you should impose a cap for the 4-year term, not for the single year in the 4 years in question. Can this be done, DHA? Yes, they can roll over the amount for the next year. You can apply later for a reimbursement. Well, I'm the next one to speak. I'm also concerned about this issue. According to the Secretary's reply, 98% of rental can be covered through the new arrangement. Well, I doubt this because, in particular, for constituencies serving the middle-class population, and I know quite a few of them, they are facing problems. A rough calculation tells us that with the increase of the allowance to some $400,000, you may be able to cope with 100 or 200 square feet of office, but there are other expenses. You need to hire an assistant. You need to pay for printing, publications, and other outgoings. Rental alone will account for some $300,000. I don't know where you find this ratio of 98%. There are members serving constituencies with no public housing estates. Perhaps you should consider giving them a special allowance or a special supplement. DHA? Well, we have looked at all the claim forms submitted by district council members. And we compile a table in arriving at this figure. It's an objective figure. Well, that's interesting. Because some members simply don't operate any ward office because of the low reimbursement amount. So they are the so-called office-less district council members. And sometimes the lease would have to be renewed within the term, and then the amount will be insufficient. Have you taken this into account? Well, we can only look at the claim forms that we have received. We cannot really foresee how big the rental increase will be on the renewal of the lease. We believe by increasing the amount by 34%, 98% of the expenses in this regard can be covered. We believe this is a reasonable increase. District council members can choose to rent any office they like. Some members do have more resources, and they may want to offer higher or premium office space. But you're asking them to pay for their own rental. Sometimes they cannot both rent a ward office and hire an assistant, or they may have to hire part-time assistants, or they rely on voluntary service. This is not reasonable. Perhaps we should try to support them through the proper public funding. We should not ask them to incur their or pay for their own expenses. Well, we are equally concerned about this. With these proposed adjustments implemented, we also monitor the actual operation of ward office and the needs. We have to bear in mind that 34% increase is a substantial increase. If we provide a special allowance for rental, there are practical problems, because in different districts, office rental varies. So how can we impose a cap on this public funding item? That's a problem. Deputy Chairman, the Secretary is correct. If we keep paying for office rent, and it fluctuates in the market, and we are just paying the developer or the landlord. Maybe the only method to put a cap on this is for the government to build ward offices for district council members, so that we can avoid a situation whereby the people who are rich, who can afford to pay out of their own pockets, would run for district council members, and other people cannot challenge them because of lack of means. To be fair in the delivery of district service, you should centrally provide ward offices instead of increasing the allowance to catch up with rental increase. Well, I know that there are people in my constituencies who are finding it difficult to cope. Let me make some suggestions to the Bureau as well. You are going to implement this as from the 1st of January 2014. The next DC election will be held in 2015, November 2015. There's a body of opinion that this arrangement would enable serving district council members certain advantages vis-à-vis the potential contenders or other candidates. So is the Bureau therefore sending out the wrong message that you are trying to favor incumbent district council members? And that is towards the last year of the term, you pay them more to improve their image, to do more service. So it's an uphill battle for the newcomers, new candidates, and yet you are giving more resources to the incumbent members. Well, the adjustment is made because district council members and members representing district councils have offer views on their behalf, and it's also because district council members have difficulties in coping with ward office rental. I have to stress that this time the adjustment is not made with any political intention or motivation. It's simply made in response to the aspirations from members. Well, would the administration also consider that you should provide ward offices to district council members instead of asking them to cope with rising rental in the market? Have you considered this possibility? That's a suggestion. It's not easy to implement. Identifying the necessary premises will be a problem. That would be something for the distant future. Mr. Wu Chi-wai, I have to declare my interest as a member of Wong Tai Sin District Council, so I have a direct interest here. I have two suggestions. For the accountable reimbursement amount, the increase is reasonable. But I note that in this review, the administration has been saying that district council members have to pay different rentals. I agree with Mr. Yip that this item should be given special treatment. Maybe there should be a cap, and you ask district council members to get reimbursement on an accountable basis, so that you will not be paying more than necessary.
Secondly, I've said on many occasions, and Mrs. Chan would know that, when during the consultation of district administration, I have said that the duties of the incumbent district councillors and the things that we need to do. I think you're giving us very limited terms of reference, and the public will challenge, simply meaning that district councillors is such an important part of district administration. So the question asked is whether or not our terms of reference are sufficient. During the days of the urban council, the government provided councillors with a full amount of $50,000. We have to cover all 7 constituencies. We were responsible for making political decisions at the urban council. We had the power to make decisions. We only pay $50,000. But now, based on the price level at the time, say in the year 2000, I think the expenses incurred by I think the district council's remuneration is about 3 to 4 times that of the urban councillors. But the discrepancy is getting larger and larger. In Kowloon East, we have 5 LegCo members. If we take into account all our remuneration, all the accountable expenses, we're talking about $1.5 million per annum. But after the current adjustment, 63 district councillors will receive, funding to the tune of $3 million out of public funds. So I think the workload that they have to undertake is not reasonable given the funding. So I think you have to bear this in mind. Mr. Yip's suggestion is that the item, the rentals paid by district councillors should be singled out as a separate item because the rentals paid by district councillors tend to vary. If we don't single out that item, then people will ask whether or not some district councillors may use the money they claim they are paying, using to pay for rentals to do something else. So the government must seriously consider this, because funding is never enough. Regarding expenses by district councillors and LegCo members, we always say that it's not enough. But you must have a relatively reasonable reimbursement and arrangement in order that the public fund spend is commensurate with the duties that they have to discharge. Ms. N. Chang, thank you. I'd just like to make one point. I hope the Secretary will really consider allowing district councillors who are renting premises not located in public housing estates by giving them an additional rental allowance. The government has considered, for example, tenants who are not offer public housing is given some rental subsidies. Not to mention the district councillors who are actually serving the public. Take the Yau Chim Mong district, for example. All the district councillors are leasing private premises, and we all know that rents are getting more and more expensive. On average, we are paying close to $20,000 a month, and rents have gone up even more drastically in recent months. In one of our ward offices, originally we were paying $15,000. Recently, we were upon renewal, we are asked to pay more than $20,000, and we are considering whether we need to relocate. So I hope that the government will consider this. That is, for district councillors operating in a ward in district in the public housing estates, they are given a subsidy of $6,000. For councillors, leasing offices in private premises, then there could be perhaps a ceiling of up to $12,000 or $15,000. Of course, all that will need to be fully accountable. They have to submit the receipts of the rents that they have paid. So there could be some room for maneuver for these members, because they're not pocketing the money themselves. They really have to pay out the amount in the course of serving the public. Mr. Yip Kok Him, Mr. Wu Chi Wai, and Ms. Ann Jiang had proposed a special treatment for the rentals paid by district councillors. The present proposed announcements are not a final announcement. So if members approve the present proposals, we will closely monitor the claim forms in respect of the accountable expenses, and then we will consider, the step forward accordingly. Mr. To, I think the important thing is the formula. Take rent, for example. I think if you compare Yau Chin Mong with NT North and Tin Moon, or councillors operating in public housing estates, there's a big variance. So we don't want to some district councillors to lose out at the starting point. Shouldn't all district councillors be given a ward office with an area of 100-odd square feet, either on the ground level? If they operate above the ground level, you may pay $10,000 or more. So you should provide for this basic amount first, and then, like electrical members, you should take into consideration whether the district councils should hire 1 full-time staff or 2 part-time staff or whatever, and then you can make adjustments according to the market trend. I've been a district councillor for 4 years. I'm not too familiar with the way how the amount is adjusted. Is it the case that the lump sum allowance would need to be adjusted according to the rate of inflation? If you follow the CPI C, I think it only takes into consideration the price of consumable goods, but the major bulk of expenses are paid for rent. So if the price of consumer goods do not go up, then we're stuck. And district councillors have to wait very often for 10 years before there's a lump sum adjustment. So I think you should review the entire formula. That is, take into consideration the service that they have to provide, and do not, link this with the CPI-C index. Director, when we decided that the amount should be increased by 34%, we had an objective criterion. We made reference of the rental levels in the market, and also for district councillors who can operate in a ward office in a public housing estate, and we look at the size of those ward offices, and then we take a similar office of a similar size in the private market, we work out how much it costs. On remuneration and on the hiring of assistants, we've looked at some objective data. That is, to hire an assistant plus a part-time assistant, how much would it cost? Before we work out at the sum of $304,000. Chairman, if you pay for $20,000 for rent in Yau Chin Mong, you're only left with $10,000. per month, and you have to pay for everything else. I think in the Hong Kong property report, there are monthly statistics which we look at, and it's based on those figures that we've come up with the present proposal. Of course, we are not looking at Class A commercial premises, but Class C or Grade C office premises, but certainly not the lowest rentals. Regarding annual adjustments, if we make the adjustment according to CPI, and if you single out the rental portion, I understand your rationale, but so far we do not have such data to enable us to do this. Perhaps we may need to find out whether some data so that we don't have to use the CPI as a benchmark for the adjustment. Mr. Chung Shui Kun, Chairman, I must declare that I have been a district councillor for 20 years in the Eastern District. Over the last 20 years, I have to actually pay the extra expenses incurred out of my own pockets. I fully agree with Ms. Sid Ho. I think your support for district councillors, it's lagging behind inflation. Some colleagues talk about the days of the urban council. In the year 2000, district councillors were paid a fixed sum, and we have to pay the extra out of our own pocket. In the case, the district council, the urban council was different. In each constituency, they would provide you with a ward office, either in a market complex or in a community hall or civic center. If you provide a ward office, then we don't have to pay rent, and I'm agreeable to that suggestion. Although I operate in the public housing estate, we also encounter our own difficulties. I think although our rents are cheaper, we have to handle more cases. Hiring a single assistant will not be able to cope. Some district councils may not even need a ward office in some cases. But those of us operate in public housing estates, every week you would have to handle 10 to 20 cases. You need to interview them, go after the departments concerned. A single staff simply cannot cope. 1.5 staff, it's barely enough. So that gives rise to another problem. Also, we have to pay long service, service payment. If they work for 2 terms, you have to pay them long service payment. And you're not making allowance for that. I have an assistant who has worked for me for 18 years. If he should resign or leave, I wonder how much I have to pay him. Maybe I have to pay him the full $70,000. You need to follow the labor ordinance. If you don't provide such support, I may need to remortgage my flat. Pay. Regarding the electrical appliances, the Home Affairs Department saying that you can sell them at 10% of its value as a second-hand product. But then if it's broken, you can't sell them. I think they should be written off once every 3 to 5 years. The most they can cheat is to simply take possession of that, old and obsolete equipment, which is not worth anything. So would you conduct a further study so that district councillors don't have to cope with such shortfalls? For certain items, I'm not able to get a tax allowance. The Inner Revenue Department may challenge us, and it will say, I operate an office, and even the staff, all right, even toilet papers, they do not allow us to make claims for tax deduction, even when we're talking about 2 rolls of toilet paper per week, and then in the end we have to swallow it. So I think we can make reference of the practice in electrical. Even if you don't pay us, at least you should admit that's the case. As for the proposal of setting up a joint office, I don't think it will work because the ward office scheme, I think in the Eastern District, I think the residents would like to go to the ward office of district councillor. They don't want to go to an office where they won't be able to find the district councillor they want to see. Mr. Chung has, aired out a lot of his grievances. Are there any other questions? If not, we'll now go for the second round.
Mr. Yip Kok Kim, you have 2 minutes. Thank you. I just want to reiterate the ward office issued. I want this to be made a special item because those who rent an office in a public housing estate, they are giving certain concessions. But for those who are operating outside public housing estates, they have a hard time. They don't get the subsidy. So we are talking about subsidies provided by the government in disguise. So that's why I'm saying that for those who are not operating a ward office in a public housing estate, should be given some assistance. I'm not talking about unlimited support. There should be appropriate support, and we should lessen their burden. You cannot say that if it's 20,000, you pay 20,000. If it's 30,000, it's 30,000. That would not do. But I'm saying that you should allow an accountable reimbursement of in the range of 6,000 to 10,000. There can be a discussion on the exact amount, but at least something should be done to lessen their burden. So I hope the Bureau will reconsider this. Director, we fully understand what Mr. Yip is suggesting, and we have given it very careful thought. In the focus groups, district council members from different parties participated and mentioned the same. The difficulty is this. Apart from the technical difficulties referred to by the Secretary, additionally, some members have spent 100% of the allowance on hiring staff, and they have no ward office. If we have a separate item for rental, ward office rental, they will not be able to use 100% of the allowance on hiring people. They would stand to lose. Where do they work? These people hired by the district councillor at home? I don't quite understand. Well, some members have their own premises. They do not claim any rental allowance. That's not reasonable. You are asking them to provide the space themselves, the premises. No, not exactly. We are saying that if we allow a district council member to use his own premises to be used as a ward office and still allow a claim for reimbursement be made, then there may be misgivings. There may be doubts about conflict of interest. So we are reimbursing rental only. If you use your own premises, no reimbursement is allowed. Well, okay, I understand what you're saying. I'll give the floor to other members now. Some people running a Kaifeng association serving as district council members don't have to claim rental reimbursement. That's not rare. It's common. Not that they are working at home. We should not ignore the need to hire assistants. In housing estates, there are queues of people waiting to get assistance, very much like what you see in a clinic. And the government is not providing a higher subsidy to us when we operate in a housing estate. For non-profit NGOs, they pay a lower rent to the HA, but we are not eligible. $6,000 is not really it's not a very big sum. It's just 30 square meters in size. Maybe you should provide a special supplement for those who run an office in private properties. But it doesn't really mean that those who are doing this in housing estates, public housing estates, are incurring lower expenses. All right, points noted. We don't have any other member who want to speak in the second round. We spent some time on the matters arising, so I will give a few minutes to the government to sort of wrap up and respond to questions which have not been responded to because of lack of time. We didn't have time to respond to a few questions raised by Mr. Zhou Shigan, and that is a long service payment for assistance. In the reimbursement arrangement, the money can be spent on long service payment, but of course I agree that the amount is not really high, so members may not be able to meet long service payment fully. And in the next review, that we'll take a look at this. Second, and the list of allowable equipment and items. And the question is, why we disallow some? We have another allowance. That is the MEA, miscellaneous expenses allowance, $4,000, which is meant to meet miscellaneous expenses which cannot be exhaustively listed. All right, I think that's about time to wrap up. The question is, do members support that District Council members' allowance and expense reimbursement arrangements be improved as of the 1st of January 2014? If members are agreeable, they would go to the FC. I take it that no one disagrees and everyone is in favor of this. Okay. So I think that's it for this item. Next item is the management and maintenance of the Hong Kong Stadium turf pitch. It's a paper CP 2203-1314/05. Over to you, Secretary, for an introduction. Well, as the paper sets out, the last revamp was done in 1992, and that is to say, the current irrigation system, the turf, and everything have been there for 20 years. The LCSD was set up in 2000, and then it took over the management of the stadium. And over the years, they have been maintaining the turf through the regular measures. Since the major incidents arising from the rainy season last year, there was a review of the arrangement, and the LCSD has taken some follow-up actions. There was short-term returfing for the new soccer season, and after the stadium, the refurbished stadium was commissioned in September. There were 4 soccer matches, and the teams were satisfied with the quality of the turf. To solve the problem, LCSD has talked to relevant experts. There's an expert group looking at short-term and long-term, medium-term and long-term solutions, from returfing or to redevelop the entire system for irrigations and drainage. At the end of October, having regarded all these factors, the experts have come up with a proposal to redevelop the turf. And this will take a longer time than just returfing or replacing the topsoil. And taking into account that we have major sports events annually, we believe the earliest time to start this will be in 2015. And before that, if we adopt progressive turf management measures and carefully scheduled sports events in the interim, the turf will be able to cope in the coming 2 years. We have accepted the experts' advice, and we are now preparing for the large-scale redevelopment work. We hope to embark on this as early as possible and to minimize the impact on existing scheduled events. The LCSD would look at the scheduling arrangement, the manpower management and contingency plans, and also to upgrade the expertise that the department has in improving the stadium. We will strive to continue to provide a quality stadium for local and international events to be hosted in the venue. Thank you. We have a number of members: Mr. Wong Kok Heng, Mr. Yik Ji Heng, Mr. Yu Si Weng, Mr. Chan Chi Chin, and Mr. Yip Kok Kim, Ma Fong Kwok, Sid Ho, and Wu Chi Wai. Anyone else? So 4 minutes each. Mr. Wong Kok Heng. Thank you, Chairman. With regard to the problem of the stadium, well, when it came to light, I wrote to the department for short-term, medium-term, and long-term solutions. I got a reply very soon on these short-term and long-term solutions. I'm grateful. I understand the department has been taking substantive steps to seek improvement. So I have a few questions about the process. In the past, you outsource management of the stadium. In the short-term, long-term, and medium-term solutions, are you going to do something targeting at problems arising from outsourcing of management? What are you going to do with outsourcing at this point in time? The management of the stadium and other venues was different in the urban council era. They have experts, pitch experts at that time, who are permanent staff. And now with the outsourcing, experience cannot be passed on from experienced staff to new staff. This may be one of the factors contributing to the pitch problems. So what are you going to do, the Secretary, about outsourcing and the problem associating with accumulation of and passing on of experience? Second, the stadium has a fraud, a natural flaw, and that is inadequate sunlight because of the way it was constructed. So are you going to go for the natural grass pitch or mixed pitch, or this the ratio of different types? I would like to get some response for these questions.
Director. Thank you, Mr. Wong. Regarding the government stadium and also the question of turf management by the LCSD, we have not outsourced the management of the turf pitch. We've only outsourced the security duties. At the government stadium, the team, we have a 6-man team led by LCSD manager and also a senior workman responsible for managing the turf pitch. But we also admit that our professional training regarding turf management is not adequate. So in the next 5 years, we will have a professional training course. This will not only be available to our staff, and as in the days of the Urban Council, we will send our staff overseas to attend courses on turf management. In Hong Kong, there are very few such courses on turf management. We basically will send our staff to the UK and Australia for training. We also like to encourage the local tertiary institutions to offer such training courses so that our staff can attend. We expect that in the next 5 years there will be 2,000 odd places for our staff to undergo training. Mr. Yip Chi Ming. Chairman, according to the paper, the government has set up an expert group to tackle the question of turf management. I think if you ask anyone who would like to play golf or go to the races, I think the top expert in Hong Kong as far as turf is concerned is the Jockey Club. I don't know whether or not whether you have invited experts from the Jockey Club to join your expert group. Recently, I've heard that the experts from the Jockey Club is most willing to offer help. Secondly, to follow up on Mr. Wong Kok Heng's question, I'm concerned about the daily monitoring work. You've confirmed that you've not outsourced the management of the turf to an outside party. Now, for these people, what is the understanding of the turf? If you only treat it as part of the daily routine, then it's not desirable. Of course, scheduling of events is important. Mr. Wong talked about the natural disadvantage of the lack of sunshine. The department talked about the 5-year training program. I don't know why it has to be that long. I think perhaps 5 years later, the redevelopment would have been completed. So even if you were to, want to take a degree, it wouldn't take 5 years. Regarding supervision and the training courses, and Mr. Wong's question about the species of grass to select, I'll ask the director to answer the questions. Regarding the task expert group, we do have representatives from the Jockey Club. After the incident with the turf occurred, we are grateful for the, proactive, assistance offered to us by the Jockey Club. Director, thank you. Let me clarify that the entire course will last for 5 years. We are saying that we would, take 5 years to allow our staff responsible for turf management to take such courses, and they have to do so in batches. Because every year we have important events, especially the Rugby 7, and they really, cherish the turf pitch. But as far as their professional expertise is concerned, they are still behind the international standard, and we understand, we admit that there is a need for improvement. As for the Jockey Club, they do have experts sitting on our expert panel, and they've also provided facilities to help us in terms of laboratory tests and so on, and we're grateful to them. To answer Mr. Wong's question, as far as selecting the species of grass is concerned, this is one of the points we need to look at when we develop the turf pitch. The experts, for the time being, still prefer the use of natural grass, but others suggested that we should go for a hybrid option that is combining natural grass with artificial turf. Of course, we also need to consider the question of sunshine. That's why in the paper we suggest that we will provide for lamps to help with the to provide more lighting for the grass to help it grow. Chairman, in the housing estate which I live, for more than 10 years, we've been changing the landscaping, contractor, and they've not proved to be satisfactory. And in the end, we ended up hiring the gardener that we originally started. So I hope you will really, note this. You don't need a response. Thank you. Mr. Kenneth CHAN, I think we're all very concerned about the incident which happened in summer, and we were accused of the stadium was called a killer pitch or a substandard pitch, and world-class teams are saying that they won't be coming to Hong Kong, and the football club is already struggling, with the lower and lower attendance at the matches, and if things improve, our young footballers don't have to go outside of Hong Kong to make a living and so on. So the situation at the moment is really pathetic. After the summer vacation, I hope the government will deliver its promise and really provide the resources. I hope the department would nearly go to the stadium and see the work that's being done. I hope there could be more communication so that we can really help promote the football in Hong Kong and ensure that there will be improvement to the pitch. Since the department admitted that they have been negligent, and so the question to ask is whether not anyone within the administration would need to be held responsible or punished. Secondly, the Asian Football Association sent an investigation team to Hong Kong. They not only did they look at the government stadium. Of course, we welcome the government's coming up with strategies to improve the pitch. The Tin Shui Wai pitch was accused of not having sufficient lighting, and the Mong Kok Stadium doesn't provide for space for TV commentators, and so on. So we do have some, football pitches which can actually coordinate with the government stadium. However, they're not up to standard to hold international matches, and we were criticized for that by the expert team. So how would the government respond to the criticism by the expert team from the Asian Football Federation? And thirdly, regarding training, of course, the jockey club is really helpful. They're also willing to provide financial support. In Cheung Kwan O, there's a training center. They don't mind paying the money. They're worried about the repeat of the BMX venue, which after it was built, there was no one to manage it. So perhaps we can follow up with a question for the department on this. Regarding the long-term development of football, the sport of football, we have a Phoenix scheme which is being implemented at the moment. First of all, we have to, I'm sure the movement will help enhance the governance of the Football Association. If there's improvements on the part of the Football Association, certainly this is conducive to the to boosting our confidence in promoting the sport of football, including the jockey club's offer to finance the building of a football training school in Cheung Kwan O. Of course, in the long term, Mr. Kenneth CHAN said that there are inadequacies as far as the Hong Kong Stadium is concerned because its design is rather outdated. So the ultimate solution is to develop the comprehensive sports facility at KWOK. So we will later on be submitting a paper regarding the development of the KWOK facility. Mr. Yu Siwing, thank you. At the end of July, I wrote to the administration and they responded immediately, and I'm grateful for that. If we go to paragraph 4 of the paper, it is said that in between two matches, you have 7 days for the management of the turf. My question was that within the course of 6 days, 5 matches were held, and on top of that, you have torrential rain resulting in that fiasco. And you only start the repair of the turf in 2015. So when a similar incident happened, how are we going to deal with it? How are we going to cope with the situation for the next 1.5 years? We still have 10 months where the stadium will not be put to use. I think the government stadium is the best stadium in Hong Kong. Will the administration take this opportunity to plan again the facilities there, or review the facility provision there? Director. Thank you, Mr. Yeo. In the review by the expert group, one thing which has been confirmed is that the government stadium as a venue for first division matches and international matches, the events should not be so frequent. We should follow the rules laid down in the days of the Urban Council, that there should be an interval of no less than 7 days in between 2 matches. If there are 2 matches held on the same day, the interval should be 14 days. Before the redevelopment of the government stadium, we will work with the Football Association and the Rugby Association to ensure that we will comply with such a rule. If indeed we need to have 2 matches within 7 days, we want the 2 matches to be separated longer, so that the turf can have a time for rest. We will also have more stringent requirements. For each stadium, we may have 50 sessions, and we will now try to reduce it to 40. We need to talk to the stakeholders before this could be done. And at the government stadium, which will be closed for a period of time, it could be 10 months, it may be well, perhaps we'll see whether we can compress that time interval. And meanwhile, the events will be relocated to the Mong Kok Stadium and Siu Sai Wan. I'd like to follow up on one more question. While you are resurfacing the turf, would you also consider, reprovisioning the facilities in the government stadium? Yes, during this time, we will acquire other equipments, such as the lighting for the turf, and also the aerating equipments for the turf. Mr. Chishing, Chairman, the redevelopment of the government stadium and also the repaving of the turf. I think the last time this was done in the year 2000. It's been 13 years since. Before that, the Jockey Club and the Urban Council had done something in terms of management. I heard the director saying that since they took over the government stadium, they have been responsible for its management. I'm not saying that you've done a bad job, but the director, what the director said, quoted some, the frequency of the stadium was being used, and this does not tell him what is in the figure. You say that 30 matches were organized, and on top of that, there were rugby matches between September 2012 and August 2013. The celebration events, of course, may also damage the turf. The director said that every month it amounts to 50-60 hours. And that is not what you're saying in the paper. According to your schedule of events or matches, the damage to the turf shouldn't be so serious. At the district level, they already have 50 matches a week, and you only have 30 matches in a year, plus the rugby 7. Even if you have 7 matches, 10 matches in a week, it's all confined to those few weeks, after which the turf will be put to rest for repair. So I'd like to ask whether or not there are some problems with the management of the turf and the maintenance. Of course, the aerating system is all right, but then the soil may also have degraded, and that is a management issue. So does the department admit that there are some problems in terms of management? Of course, you admit that you don't have enough experience, but that could turn you into a laughing stock. You said that during the month when the incident happened, it was because there was a torrential rain, 500 millimeters, and the water could not be drained properly. The whole irrigation drainage system was not working. So, in the current review, other than reviewing other than repaving the entire turf surface,
what about subsequent management? Are there problems with your staff? Mr. Yip Chi Ming has said they should do their job with a heart. Well, it's not just about the lack of a heart, it's also the lack of a physical ability. Would outsourcing be a possible solution? We're talking about natural grass pitches when it's about 50 events. For the stadium, we need to close for maintenance 200 odd days in a year. We want to maintain a high quality stadium compared with other district natural grass pitch venues. There was the returfing in 1998. More than 10 years have passed. Usually, we need to returf every 10 years. So the drainage capacity is low compared with healthy turfs. So instead of returfing, we have to go for comprehensive redevelopment. As for our work team, we admit that we do not have sufficient expertise in our department. We are going to set up an expert turf management team. We are going to engage outside experts to work for the LCSD. Dr. Helena Wong. Well, other colleagues are being too nice. When we talk about the Philippine hostage incident, we were unhappy with C.Y. Leung, and he disgraced all of us. And now this pitch is the same. We were disgraced internationally. We are not saying that this turf is old. We should look forward to the Kai-Tak sports complex. It will take a long time for it to be commissioned. And after it's commissioned, we have to be worried about other things because of your poor track record of management. We have no total control over the climate. We are no God. But this is not just about the weather conditions. According to the paper, in terms of hardware and software, there are problems. The drainage system, the irrigation system are all problematic. Is it really a question of aging system, or is it that the entire drainage and irrigation system is itself problematic? Have you looked into the problems? We are told that the turf can only be used for 15 years, and every 10 years it should be returfed. So why are you saying this now? Why didn't you tell us the problem earlier? So the government and the LCSD are reactive, passive, and are not conversant in the expertise of turf management. So you are now inviting experts to join your turf management team. So you didn't have experts, or your team was not very professional. And it seems that you would just allow anyone to be involved in management. So I may be one that you can hire. You didn't provide expert training to your staff, or the training was inadequate. So the biggest problem lies with the LCSD. You didn't have the expertise, and you wanted to do the management, and you did a poor job. So that's why we were both shamed and disgraced. And if you continue like this, the Kai-Tak venue would just present other problems. So please tell us, how are you going to reflect upon all these software and hardware problems from the drainage system, the management team, staff, training, so on and so forth? How can you upgrade this? And why didn't you do all these things in the past? These are matters that should be done as a matter of course. So why do we end up like this? After the incident, the government, including the HAB and the LCSD, did conduct a follow-up review, and the paper sets out the remedial measure, targeted remedial measures that we have taken in terms of software and hardware, including the setting up of an expert group in an effort to seek improvements. Mr. CHAN. Thank you, Chairman. The turf scandal that has attracted many criticism. The Bureau asks us to look forward to what we can achieve in the past. But a review must also look at the causes. For the public, they would like to ask two questions. Is it a natural disaster? Is this a man-made disaster? Is this an accident, or is it something attributable to human errors? You talk about sunlight exposure and this is a natural disadvantage. Well, it's a problem associated with your choice of grass species and the way the stadium was constructed. You talk about a number of factors coming together, so you seem to suggest that it's an accident. Otherwise, we don't have such a big incident and such a big scandal. Professor Kenneth CHAN asked a number of questions which has not been answered, and that is, was anyone guilty of dereliction of duty or mismanagement or in the department? And should someone be punished? Please answer this question if you don't have time to answer all my questions. Are we being too lax in our demand on turf management? After this review, are we going to ask for higher standards? And also, have we been blacklisted by overseas soccer teams? Have they lodged any complaints or make any inquiries? Have any one of them told you that they would consider staying away from Hong Kong? As you can see in the paper, the July incident was caused by a number of factors. There are some natural causes, and there are factors that we could not foresee, i.e. the weather. Should any staff member be held accountable? Well, of course, the stadium management team would be the first one to blame. They are responsible for the management. Of course, they had some judgment errors, for example, how to react to the incidents and also how to returf or apply topsoil. We are going to redeploy our people. Has anyone been punished? Well, I don't think any particular one staff should be blamed and held accountable. It had to do with weather, and the management did not provide a timely reaction. So we cannot really just blame a technician or manager for the whole incident. But have we asked them to improve and do a better job? Certainly, yes. We have had a number of meetings to see how we can do a better job, and we also look into the causes of the incident. Was it totally unexpected? The answer is no. Otherwise, we would not have hire a New Zealand expert to look at the turf. We did take some action, but the action taken was inadequate, we must admit. There are two further points, two other questions. I have never heard of the so-called blacklist. Some overseas soccer teams are still interested in coming here for friendly matches. Have we been applying lax standards? Are we going to ask for more this time? Well, were we being too lax? Well, in the past, we tended to be accommodative when we received applications. The guideline is that we should not have 2 matches within a period of 7 days. But sometimes because of the special demand of the applicant or the need to do TV broadcasting or the event involve visiting the overseas teams, we did not enforce the guidelines stringently. And also we were not forward-looking in hiring experts in turf management. We rely too much on our own staff members. We understand that there is certainly room for improvement. Mr. Yip Kin Yin, I think some members have highlighted the core problems. Superficially, it was about the turf's condition, the continuous inclement weather, the scheduling events, and the lack of contingent management capability. If these problems are not resolved, then even after the returfing, the same problems can come back to haunt us. So we must deal with the core problems, and we must press for a response. If we cannot go for a tight scheduling of programs and we still did what we did, it's a management problem. As for contingencies, well, there were problems that was coming. So that was something accumulated over a long period. And why was the department not able to foresee it coming? That's the problem. And also we have to look at the expertise, the knowledge of staff. And some other members pointed out that the attitude may also be a problem. We have no definite answer to that. But attitude may have to do with management system. Would the management system be affecting the staff's attitude? We're not just talking about the leader, the manager. Were they able to identify the underlying problems? We are not given any details in the paper. I want to ask a question about paragraph 19. It's stated that the LCSD is reviewing the manpower and deployment. So how can you come up with good solutions to ensure that in the future there will be good management of the stadium and the pitch? Well, we have carried out a comprehensive review. We have a 6-member team to manage the turf. These are frontline staff. Of course, they have received training and they are experienced. But in terms of a level of expertise, it's not up to the required standards. In the next financial year, we're going to set up a dedicated team for turf management in the stadium. We are going to have a superintendent to head the team. We'll recruit locally, and if that doesn't work, we will recruit internationally. We will try to bring in people who have experience in managing international stadiums. And we have also done a lot in other venues. We would like to apply the experience in Hong Kong Stadium. So what we want to do is to have experienced people who have the necessary expertise. We have 48 glass pitches, and we hope that the experts can also advise on the management of these venues. Apart from the hiring of experts for the Hong Kong Stadium and other 8 Division 1 soccer pitches, we are going to have greenskeepers responsible for the turf management, and it's hoped that the experience so gained can be passed on so that we can enhance the overall expertise in the department. Mr. Yip Kok Kim. Well, some members have been very fierce in the criticism that even Mr. C. Wai Leung was brought in for criticism. I just can't understand the mentality. how come this council has become like this? Some members were the urban councillors, but I was never an urban councillor, but my twin brother was the deputy chairman of urban council. This stadium problem was structural in nature. There was a litigation involving the contractor Wembley. The whole system, the turf, the system, and the lot were all problematic. But we lost in that litigation. So there was a structural problem with the stadium. We must be aware of the history. If I'm wrong, I stand to be corrected by the two former urban councillors. We have been criticizing the department for lack of expertise, and actually there were experts. But the things that should have been done were not done, and also there were other factors that come together in such a short period of time. Then I think we should be fair in our criticism. Well, that's of course not a good incident, but at the same time, it's good in that it gives us the determination to redo it all over again. Otherwise, we'll see puddles whenever there is rain, and we are not able to achieve what we want to achieve. So we need to deploy resources in order not to disgrace Hong Kong once again internationally. We need to look at the structural issues.
The question is, in the course of doing such improvement works, how can we ensure that international matches may continue to be held, and otherwise it's not possible that we don't have any international matches at all? Director, I think our expert group comprises of experts and representatives from the Hong Kong Football Association and the Rugby Association. We anticipate there will be heated debates as to whether we should accommodate the rugby matches or the football matches. We understand that there's no alternative venue for rugby matches. The only choice is the government stadium. So for the Rugby 7 in March, I think we only start the improvement works after March 2015, after the Rugby 7 tournament. So this may have an effect on the international clubs visiting Hong Kong in the summer of 2015. Of course, we don't want to have too many matches during that time because it's summer and it's rainy season. Also, we can hold some of the matches in Mong Kok and Tin Shui Wai. The best thing is that after the redevelopment of the government stadium, will the international clubs visit Hong Kong? We talked to the Football Association, and they say that in November next year there will be some foreign teams visiting Hong Kong. So we may need to talk to them further. We will try to ensure that we will will not affect the international matches as far as possible. And in Mong Kok, we do have some district tournament matches, but the number of seats are limited, and it's not able to accommodate matches involving, international matches. I remember the first international match. When it was played, it was pouring, and then after the match, I went to the UK holiday. At the time when Manchester United was playing in Hong Kong, it so happened that I was in their home ground, Manchester. I visited their club, and they've just finished the repaving of the entire turf, and I could see there's a big difference between the turf there, the pitch there, and in Hong Kong. I asked them how they did it, and they said that they would repave the turf once every 10 years, and the time it took them was about slightly more than 2 months. And they also told me that the cost of repaving the turf is about £1 million or 13 million Hong Kong. The government explained to the media that the redevelopment of the government stadium would cost about 100 million Hong Kong dollars. We're not comparing oranges with oranges, of course, but I'd like to know why the government would need $100 million for this project, and how would the $100 million be spent, and why does it take so long for you to repave the entire turf surface? Secretary, I believe what you've heard in the UK was only about repaving the surface level, the topsoil. We have also considered only repaving, replacing the topsoil, because the top soil, after it's been used for a long time, it will lose its. It doesn't, it doesn't drain so easily. What we're now talking about is replacing the entire drainage system. The expert group's view is that if we were to do this, we have to replace the entire system. I also note that in the stadium, the level is elevated, and that might help improve the irrigation or the drainage. So I'd like to know whether or not, when you redevelop the government stadium, you'll make reference of what they do. I think we only gave a rough estimate when we responded to the media. We still need to engage a consultant to tell us how long it would take and how much it costs to redevelop the stadium. The Permanent Secretary said it would be no more than 100 million. We hope that it will be really below that figure, and that it wouldn't cost 100 million. We will also be looking at closing the stadium for 6 months or 7 or 8 months. The local experts and the company may need to engage external companies to help us rebuild the stadium. Like the chairman said, it's important that we have high levels at the edges, to help with the drainage, and we certainly will. The experts certainly will consider that. So, first of all, I'd like to commend the administration for this paper. It is one of the rare papers which is very detailed, and in which the government frankly admits that there is a problem, and they're not, beating around the bush. But there's still one point which is not touched upon in the paper. That is the sand at the top soil. When the incident happened, we were told that there were some problems with the topsoil, and in your paper you say that in order to, since you needed to do it, then you did not thoroughly sieve the sand, and as a result there were a lot of impurities, and it was found that it would be very dangerous if the turf surface had so much, miscellaneous things or impurities. So I'd like to know whether or not there's any regulation regarding the supply of the sand, because if there is, you would need to sieve the sand. And if the quality of the sand were acceptable, then even if you don't have time to sieve it, you wouldn't come up with such a serious problem. So how would you explain that? And also, it's a question of knowledge. The government department responsible for managing the stadium, even you don't know that there is a danger. Only when the gas team came and they told you there's a problem, if you don't improve the turf, they will refuse to play. So it was, you don't even have the ability to detect that there is danger in the stadium. You told us that you will provide for training. Are you going to send your staff overseas, or are you going to invite the international experts to come and train your staff? Chairman, regarding the question of sand, indeed, we hired a contractor to provide 70 tons of sand. We were looking for sand all over the place. And we found some impurities in the sand on the ground, and we have to pick up the impurities. Subsequently, we took samples of the sand supplied by the same contractor, and we did not find the impurities we found on the government stadium. There were some grains of sand which were large in size. So what we suspect is that the contractor have to bring in the sand in such a hurry, and when they were brought to the venue, they were mixed with some other impurities. And also, every time our colleagues will sieve the sand before they are poured on the surface. But this time was too urgent. The sand were poured, and subsequently impurities are found. In future, I think what we'll do, the current contract will end in February next year, and after that, each and every time we'll ask the contractor to confirm that the sand had been inspected and that it will contain no impurities before we take delivery. After the new contract is signed in February next year, we'll be procuring a silicon sand, which is ground from silicon, and there won't be any impurities. It's not like the sand we collect from rivers, from riverbeds. And I think this can avoid a repeat of what happened in July. As for training, we will not only offer training courses locally, we will also send our staff overseas for training, and this has been done in the past before, except that we didn't do it on a big scale. But in future, all frontline staff responsible for managing the turf will be sent overseas for training so that they can acquire hands-on experience. Before members want to ask further questions, I'd like to remind members that time is almost up for this meeting, and there are 4 more members yet to ask questions. Even if we were to extend by 15 minutes and we have 1 more item on the agenda, we wouldn't have time. So we have 2 options. Either I will allow only 3 minutes for the other 4 members, or we extend the meeting by 20 minutes. I'm inclined to opt for the former, that is, each member be limited to 3 minutes. Do members prefer that we extend the meeting by 20 minutes? Is that agreeable to the administration? Oh, the 4 members are Chung Shik Kan, An Chang, Hu Chi Wai, and Mr. Chair Wai-keung. There won't be no more second round after that. We have another meeting coming up. So in that case, I can only give you 3 minutes each. Answers included. Mr. Chung Shik Kan, Chairman. Is this an incident which did not happen today? Even in the 1990s, there were problems. There's this problem at the government stadium. There were first division team coming to Hong Kong and refused to play because once you step on the sand, it was very soggy. The problem was that the jockey club wanted to build a structure which was faulty. They built the stadium as if they were building a track. Every time after a race course at 1 o'clock, they will have people stepping on the turf to even out the turf and drain out the water. We can't do it like the jockey club because the jockey club has abundant funds. Of course, the government cannot, level the turf again every time there's a match. So you may have to start from scratch. No, at the time we engaged Wembley International, and in the end, the director of urban services have to kick them out. So this simply doesn't work. Even if you invite all the experts from all over the world, even the British experts, they were not able to successfully manage the turf. But then we don't have. It's not that we don't have success stories. In Tin Shui Wai, first division matches have been played there for 15 years. There have been no problem. Everybody love it. The turf it's beautiful there. There's been no problem. Another issue is that there's something wrong with the management on the part of the department. You can't use public funds to buy expensive sand or engage experts to maintain the turf. You have your frontline staff actually accumulate a lot of experience over the last 10 to 20 years. You have not done well in terms of knowledge management. The few senior staff, what have they done? If you manage the stadium well, then you don't need to have such frequent matches. So to resolve, the ultimate solution, I think, Director, is that you have to build another stadium. It's the same for any city. Otherwise, no matter what you do, you will not succeed. In Kai-Tak, you need to build a stadium that will be up to the most advanced standards. And after that, you can redevelop the government stadium. Only then can you accommodate the frequent rugby and football matches. It's worth doing it because after you finish, then clubs from all over the world, even Southeast Asia, would like to come and play in Hong Kong. So I hope in the short term you will come up with a timetable as to how you intend to redevelop this stadium. I mean, just ask yourself, why is it that Tin Shui Wai Stadium is so successful? Wai, he's not. Oh, he's here. Beg your pardon, I thought you've left the chamber. Mr. Wai. Thank you.
Well, I was an urban councillor, one of the members here who were urban councillors. At that time, we'd talk a lot about possible solutions to solve the problems with the stadium. Have you implemented the recommendations after the urban council was scrapped? And also, I want to know about the design for the drainage system. Are you going to improve the capacity so that you can cope with torrential rain once in 20 years or 50 years or 100 years? But that would not be very reasonable as a system, because if there's a torrential rain, you have to enhance the capacity to coping with the highest downpour in 20 years to 50 years. Maybe if there's a torrential rain, you should cover the pitch so that the water can be drained and the pitch protected. As Mr. Ma has said, you should rejuvenate, repave the topsoil. There is a limit to the capacity of drainage of the soil. If you don't have any contingency plan to protect the pitch in case of a torrential rain, then it's a dereliction of duty on your part. You have a 6-member team, so the deployment is an important factor because the civil servants are subject to rotations once every 3 years or so. So even after training, you are not able to solve this problem because the staff member may have to be rotated and posted out after 2 or 3 years. And lastly, I hope the review will not end up with compressing the scheduling arrangement. For example, you would want to extend the period in between 2 events. Well, the venues in Hong Kong are in short supply. Please don't say that we have to be very tight. We don't want to have another event in another 7 days or longer. That happened to the Urban Council. We don't want to prevent events from being scheduled because of the longer maintenance periods. Please carefully treat such suggestions. Mr. Tony Chan, so that was a poorly done job. There was a review because of that. I think that should be omitted. You are going to redo everything in 2015. And we have to consider Hong Kong weather. For example, In other countries, they have snow in winter, and they will certainly take that into account. According to the information, in terms of usage, we are and maintenance costs, we spend more than $6 million. I'm concerned about this because there's no alternative. But I've heard that Singapore is going to build a stadium with a seating capacity of 50,000, and they would be competing this in 2015, so they can easily replace us. So from now to the time of replacing or returfing, how can we still host international events without bringing shame onto Hong Kong? Director, well, we'll choose the right weather to start the resurfing. Well, I'm talking about considering weather. Don't blame the torrential rain in the future. Those of us who are involved in building houses have to cope with the weather. Well, as to whether the capacity should be able to handle the heaviest downpour in 20 years or 50 years, what the expert has given up as advice. I think if it's 50 millimeters of rainfall, it will still be able to cope. As for the other suggestion, I'll refer that to the expert group. We are using $2.3 million on manpower, grass species, seeds, turfing, and so on. In 2015, we have to close the stadium for returfing, and as far as possible, we'll avoid events. The period where we have events hosted by the Hong Kong Football Association. As for the 7-day rule, that is not strictly enforced, and that we will always wait for 7 days. But because sometimes visiting teams have to come during certain period. But for F8 matches, we should, as far as possible, work something out with the Football Association so that we don't have matches within a short period. Do remember that we have competition, and don't lose out to Singapore again. While we sit by and do nothing. Ms. Zhang, well, I went to an overseas school for education, and I saw that there were the venues for American football, and after I've returned, I play golf from time to time. When I visit other countries, I saw beautiful turfs, and sometimes experts from Switzerland and other countries were involved in management. And when there's a heavy downpour and people walk on the turf, it could become a mess. But it's not really realistic to have heavy rain and still you schedule 5 matches in a week. Of course, the turf would be very messy. Now you want to work on the drainage system. Of course, that must be done. But maintenance in the future is equally important. And if there's a heavy downpour and you still have some matches, then perhaps you should consider covering the turf at night with a big sheet of plastic. So basically, I support the government plan to resurface the stadium. As for the cover, well, we are going to buy a cover for the turf, but we cannot use it for a prolonged period. Last time the English team did it for us. Well, I have a mango tree in my home, and a bird picked on the fruit, and I was taught by someone to use a plastic bag to wrap the fruits, and I was concerned that the tree would suffocate. But it was not a problem because it's not for a prolonged period. And in some greenhouses where the people grow such fruits, they also use wrappings for protection. For example, you see other venues have beautiful turf, such as the one in Tin Shui Wai. We can do this. We can have very good turfs. Our people can do it. And when there's a heavy rain, coupled with the scheduling of many matches, well, then we have a problem. Two more members would like to ask questions in the second round. I am afraid I cannot allow that. If you have further questions, please do it in writing. All right, AOB under item 6, and that's one from the Secretariat, and that is the Subcommittee on West Kowloon Cultural District. That was set up in the last year. The Secretariat has prepared a report of the Joint Subcommittee, and the two panels have been asked to allow the Joint Subcommittee to continue its operation in 2013-2014 section. Through circulation of paper, members of the Development Bureaus have indicated agreement to the suggestion. I suppose we don't have a problem with that. We allow the subcommittee to continue its work, right? Okay. So we are going to make a report to the House Committee and seek the endorsement of the House Committee to allow this Joint Subcommittee to continue its work. Is that agreeable, members? If there's no problem, so I think the Secretary can proceed as agreed. We have completed the agenda. Thank you.